Calling our meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. This time we have the invocation by our chaplain, Frank Stevens, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterward. Heavenly Father, I thank you for our city commissioners and their faithfulness as they discuss the business of Lynn Haven. I speak your blessing over them, a blessing of wisdom and discernment as they conduct the business of the city. I give you thanks for them as they have the responsibility to watch over and guide this city of Lynn Haven. I thank you, Lord, that you bless our city with leadership that pursues what is best for the citizens of Lynn Haven. I also speak your blessing and protection over our police, our firefighters, and also over our city employees as they faithfully serve the residents of Lynn Haven. I speak this in your holy name, Jesus. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time we have public commentary. Mr. Anthony Cornett with the American Red Cross. Okay. All right. Got it. Miss Amy Cobb. Yes.
Had to do, and I didn't know when to come up. So I'm here just to represent East 24th Street. I know that I don't live in the city limits, but my road is obviously maintained by the city. They did a study not too recently. I know I've talked to Chief Ramey about some things. I know it was kind of excessive on the other one. We just want something of a resolution. The big, massive speed bump that was there before, yes, was a very deterrent. It was a little too aggressive. We had people that basically stopped and then peeled out because I would have been upset. It was a very aggressive thing you had to completely stop instead of just slowing someone down maybe in the essence. So, we're just wanting something to maybe deter it on that. We've had a couple of dogs that have been run over or other things, and it's been aggressive enough that I don't want that to be one of these children that are walking, or us as we walk down the street, because there's not really a side median or anything like that. So, we're just trying to make it so something doesn't happen that we really are going to regret in the long run of anything. So that's really about it. Really appreciate y'all very much.
All right. Thank you. Jeremiah Cobb.
Sorry, I didn't know I was going to be speaking. Basically the same thing. We've had multiple issues with speeding up and down our road we've been living there for 10 years now. We've had multiple issues with vehicles ending up in ditches, multiple dogs hit. We have been brushed by vehicles walking up and down the road. Y'all have done a wonderful job of giving us a walking park that is 2 blocks away from my road, and I can't even allow my children to go to that walking park by themselves because they have to go 2 blocks on 24th Street. Biggest problem is just the speeding. They turn on the road. There's no deterrence. It's a good straightaway. It's an awesome drag strip. If I was 18, 20 years old, I'd love it too. But I'm not anymore. I have children, and I just somehow need the people to slow down. I have stopped several people, and they get mad at me, and they spin off. But we've got to get something for our children to be able to even be around the road to stop the speeding. So that's basically why we're here. Thank y'all.
All right. Thank you. Thomas Steele.
Yes, I live on 24th Street too. I've been there since 1983, and this has been a pretty big problem on this road from day one that I lived there. My puppy was one that was run over, the first one, And I see people walking there, like Jeremiah said, going, their children on, riding their bicycles and stuff, and the people just don't care. I mean, you have to get off the side of the road. They don't even move over for you if you're in the road. And that's about all I got to say. It's been a problem from day one, and we'd just like to see something done, try to slow them down a little bit. We know people get in a hurry to go to work and coming home work, they want to get home. We understand that, but just give us a little respect for the people that live on that road. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jerry Parker.
Good morning, Commission. Hold on, this is going to be rough. I want to talk about the elections a little bit because I know they're coming up, and I know the rats are coming out of the woodwork. There's mudslinging going on, there's name-calling going on, not just in Lynn Haven, but all over. I want to talk about somebody that's running that's called Marler. Never heard this person. Never heard of him before. Never saw him at a commission meeting, never see him in public commentary, really don't know who he is. But I do know this, donations. And it's an interesting thing. Forehand, Selena Aldridge. Is this a ringer to put in to take away votes from another candidate? Never been in a commission meeting to my knowledge. Another thing is this commission seems to be a go along to get along and move on mentality. Yet the past is part of the future, and if you continue to ignore the obvious facts, you're no better than the person sitting next to you. I met with 4 of you, facts about corruption, and it was ignored. What did you do with those facts? Did any of you read them? Did any of you say, this don't sound right? No. One person did. That's Jamie Wark. Shows integrity. Wark's been ostracized by this very, very panel because of speaking the truth and exposing corrupt behavior. And none of you have backed him up. Sam, you at one point did, but then you fell by the wayside. The idea of what is right and what is wrong is very diluted by this commission majority. Also, our mayor has called Warwick a liar, been openly condescending to him, and treated him in an unfair manner. Our city manager also has insulted a city commissioner, lied to the FBI about a Lynn Haven citizen. That would be me. Why? To make me to shut up. But Judge Walker in federal court, he cut that out real quick. Mayor, if you call yourself a pastor and repeatedly throw the race card, you might want to have a heart check.
When do I throw the race card?
If you'll stop the commentary, please.
No, I mean, you're now directing a comment towards me. So when do I throw the race card? I mean, you're bringing it up
You
now.
have thrown the race card.
When?
In reference to that, vote Warwick and Tinder on or before April 22nd to clean this city up. Also, Gordon Andrews and
Thank
Mike
you.
Gordon
That's your
has
time.
filed lawsuits.
Thank you. That's your time.
Thank you.
Additional public commentary. All right. Have our proclamation for American Red Cross Month 2025. Whereas during American Red Cross Month in March, we recognize the compassion of people in Lynn Haven and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. And whereas this generous spirit is woven into the fabric of our community and advances the humanitarian legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, one of the most honored women in our country's history, who nobly dedicated herself to alleviating suffering. And whereas today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Barton's commitment as they step up through the American Red Cross Northwest Florida chapter to provide a beacon of hope for our neighbors in need. Through their voluntary and selfless contributions, they make a life-saving difference in people's darkest hours. Whether it's delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting military families, veterans, and caregivers through the unique challenges of service, saving lives with first aid, CPR, and other skills, or delivering aid in reconnecting loved ones separated by global crises. And whereas their support, volunteerism, and generous donations are critical to our community's resilience, we hereby recognize this month of March in honor of all those who fulfill Clara Barton's noble words. You must never think of anything except the need and how to meet it, and everyone to join in this commitment. And whereas we hereby recognize this month of March in honor of all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join in this commitment to strengthen our community. Now, I, Jesse Nelson, and the City Commission declare the month of March 2025 as Red Cross Month and encourage all of our citizens to support this humanitarian mission.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. We all live here in Lynn Haven as well, so we appreciate what you do. And thank you. And what I like to say for the American Red Cross is right now we're prepping for hurricane season. So if you have a community a church or a community center or something like that, we love to come out and get folks prepared for hurricane season. Also, as well as the young ones, we have what's called Prepare with Pedro, which is grades K through 2. We do learning for home fires and all sort of other hazards. So if you would like to do that, please give us a call at the American Red Cross, 1-800-RED-CROSS. Thank you all so much for your help and for the proclamation today.
All right. Thank you. Again, thank you for your service to our community and being there in our greatest needs. So thank you all so much. All right, moving on to our mayor's report, response to some of our public commentary. Thank you to the residents from the 24th Street for coming and expressing your concerns in regards to the speeding in that area or to the traffic in that area. We will be discussing that on agenda item number 11. So we'll be discussing that, the speed study that was conducted on agenda item number 11. So we'll have more discussion on that at that time. In regards to, yes, Ms. Parker, regarding facts about corruption and such, and ostracizing Commissioner Warwick for speaking truth. It's in my opinion, I don't think the commission has ostracized Commissioner Warwick for speaking the truth or speaking his truth or his opinion. He has, that right to express his concerns or his opinion about particular issues. So he's done that. Do you feel ostracized, Commissioner Ward?
I don't even know what to say. I don't even want to answer it because.
But someone brought it up, so.
Okay. Yeah, I do.
So why do you feel ostracized? For example, after the meetings, you dart out. Nobody rushes you out. Nobody doesn't not speak to you.
Like this right here, what you're doing right now. Right. I mean, there's no need for it.
No,
hold on. You want me to answer?
No, here's the thing. Someone in the community is bringing up the fact that the four of us are ostracizing you. So
I didn't mean the four of you. You, yes.
So how am I ostracizing you?
You made accusations to me about some things.
Such as, so it has been evidence and witness that you were there, and I just asked a question.
you made accusation about it, but, I mean, I don't think this is the forum for it, to be honest with you.
It was brought up.
No,
on
we've
this-
talked about this already.
Correct.
So,
So, all right, so you're right. We've talked about it. Have you then gone to the public and said, hey, the mayor and I have already talked about it. Mayor has come to me on several occasions. We've already squashed it. We're moving forward.
yeah, I'm not the one that brought this up,
What I'm asking is,
and I don't go out and bring it up either.
I understand, but to those that support you, have you gone back to them? Or, you're right. So let your supporters know, hey, the mayor has already come to me and has already said, hey, guy.
Yeah,
whatever's-
I just let people make their own decision.
It's
You
not,
know,
but
and-
now at this point, people, the public opinion is stating that we're ostracizing you. Or specifically, as you said, hey,
Right.
mayor's ostracizing you. Though that's not what stated, it was the for, but now it's mayor's ostracizing you.
Right.
We've always had differences of opinion on various issues. That wasn't ostracizing, right? Did we have differences of opinion on the Chief Ramey situation? My only differences of opinion was, hey, let's not discuss all these things publicly because it goes on record. And if there's ever a legal matter that has to happen, then that goes back to the record for that particular legal matter. That was really my push was, hey, I'm not saying you don't have your opinion about it, but whatever we state, even as we're talking now, goes on public record.
Right.
So let's be mindful and careful of what we say.
I didn't bring it up.
So
I didn't bring it up.
your supporters brought it up.
All right. So you want me to go control all of them? Tell them, hey,
I'm
don't
not
do
saying that
this?
you
I'm
have
not, I mean, I can't,
I'm not, listen, Commissioner Ward, I'm not saying that you have to control your supporters. What I am saying, though, even as one of your supporters has said, that silence is complicit. Therefore, if you're not correcting the misinformation that's being spouted, then it's complicit. So the misinformation is, hey, Mayor and I have talked. After meetings, Mayor and I have talked in a parking lot. We've talked over here. When you say, hey, Mayor, I have a concern about this, we've talked.
right. But saying that, you're implying I'm going out just spurting all this. I'm not.
I didn't, no. I didn't accuse you of that. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is, now that that is out, and that is part of public opinion and a consensus for your supporters, then that needs to be, I would say, if you want to be a man of integrity, you need to say, hey, that's not true. That the mayor and I have already reconciled whatever differences we've had and are moving forward. That's what I would say. Now, again, you're your own man. You do your own thing. But if someone comes to me and says, hey, Commissioner Ward XYZ, then I'm going to say, no, that's not the case. Especially if I know it's something that is supposed to be, dividing us. And intentionally, that's what it's here to do, is to try to say, well, all of the commissioners are against Commissioner Ward. No one's against you.
I didn't say that.
I understand that. Your supporters did.
Again, you want me to go out and control all my supporters?
I'm not saying you have to control your supporters, but it's communication if we're wanting to be a unified body. But again, that's on you.
Well, hold on a second. So when was the last time on the commission that I've talked about Chief Ramey? It's been a while. I've let it go. Okay? I've also let the other stuff go. I haven't brought that up. So you're kind of trying to turn around on me like it's like I'm responsible. Hold on.
I'm not
I'll let
turning
you
it on
talk.
you.
Now let me talk, okay?
Well, hold on. See, that's why we always go back and forth in debate. I'm a man just like you. So I respect you. I don't yell at you. I don't get loud with you. So I'm listening.
Again, I don't think this is the right forum for this. I don't. I'm trying to let it go. I'm trying to let it go, but you're bringing it back now.
No,
I understand someone from, okay, I'm trying to talk.
Go ahead.
Just let him talk.
I mean,
Just give him 10
okay,
minutes.
let's talk about something. You want to talk about something? Let's talk
He's
about
not talking to
something.
me. He's talking to me. I got what you're saying. But he didn't say you ostracized him. He said I did. So I got it. Thank you.
I mean, yeah, someone came up here and brought it up. I don't plant that seed. I don't try to do anything. I don't play those games. And I think you know that. But I mean, you're making it turn around like this is something that I have to address, and I have to say this, and I don't have to say anything.
I'm not saying you have to address it. You're saying that.
I've already addressed it.
Okay.
It's a done deal as far as I'm concerned. Now you're trying to bring it back up. I understand someone else brought it up, but now you're
I asked, did you feel ostracized by the four of us? You said no, that you felt ostracized by me.
correct.
And I said,
Yes.
why do you feel ostracized by me? I speak to you every time we come in.
Yeah.
Don't get a chance to speak to you after commission meeting because you leave as soon as
Yeah,
commission
I
meeting
got
is
things
over.
to do too. I mean, if someone wants to stop and talk to me, I'll stop and talk to them. I have no problem with that. I mean,
And the reason I'm bringing it up publicly, because seemingly the private conversations or the conversations we've had outside of the meeting aren't getting to the public. Not saying that they have to go to the public, but seemingly that has not been communicated to the public. So therefore, this was brought up publicly. So we do need to address it publicly so that it can be stated, if nothing else, hey, the mayor and I have already talked.
okay, the mayor and me have already talked, and I've let it go. And I haven't done anything since then. I haven't, brought it up and that since that time. We had that one meeting where you made accusations. I haven't brought it up since. Have I?
Not that I recall, no,
And why are we talking about it?
because someone brought it up today. Someone brought it up today. And again, that was last year, but someone brought it up today.
Well, maybe it sounds like you need to have a talk with them, not a talk with me then.
Well, I'm speaking to you because they're your supporters.
Again, I can't control every resident of Lynn Haven and say, you need to stop that. That's not my job. It's not. I don't understand why you're making a big deal about it.
I'm not making a big deal.
Yeah, you
about
are.
it.
Actually, you are.
Actually, I just asked a question. Did you feel ostracized? And you said you feel ostracized.
Okay,
by
and I
me.
answer the question,
Okay.
right?
So how do I make you feel ostracized?
All right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not talking about this
I'm-
anymore.
I'm just-
No. I'm done talking about it, okay?
I'm asking, how do I make you feel ostracized?
I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. We got a meeting. We got business to do, okay? Let's carry on.
This is part of our business. So you isolate yourself, and that's fine. All right, Commissioner Peebles?
No, hold on.
No, you said you're done, Commissioner.
No, hold on. You don't get to say that. That's
But
not
hold
right.
on.
You know that's
Why don't I
not
get to
right.
say that? So now,
I'm not isolating myself.
hold on.
You're making.
now that I say something, I'm wrong. You get to say
No,
what
I
you want to say, but now that I say something, I'm wrong. When I say, hey, address your community, address your supporters, you can't control that, but now you want to control what I say.
No, you're making it out to something that it's not to be. That's not it. You're making it sound like, oh, you're going to isolate yourself. No, that's not what I'm doing. What you're doing is you're making everybody feel uncomfortable. You're making a big deal out of something that I thought was a done deal.
It was a done deal until supporters people brought it up today. I thought we had moved on from it.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor, let's move on, please.
I agree. I think
we
I mean,
will.
Do you
I
guys
mean,
all
now.
agree? Let's carry on, okay?
We
We
will.
got
But
business
hold on,
to
why are
do.
you-
No, stop interrupting
No, why are
me.
you
Stop
talking so loud at
interrupting
me?
me. Okay, go ahead. Because every time I talk, you keep interrupting me, and what you're doing is you're trying to bait me to try to get me upset. That's what you're doing. No, you're doing it again. Stop interrupting. Let me talk.
I'm not trying to bait you.
There you go again. Stop interrupting. You interrupt. People come up here during public commentary, and you interrupt them all the time now. Hold on. Let me
If people
talk.
make accusations towards me, then yes, for 3 years, I've sat here and let people say what they want to say, but you're not going to continue to make accusations that are false and not expect a response. So, Commissioner Peebles?
All right. So for my commissioner's report, for the past 2 weeks, attended the opening day ceremony for Baseball and softball is fantastic. Both my kids are playing, so that's great. I would like to say publicly for those that are watching the meeting, please give the umpires some grace. Okay, without umpires, we can't have a league. Okay, and many of them are younger than I am. They're learning just like some of them are brand new, and they're learning just like some of our children are learning how to play ball. So please give them some grace. You can't have a league without umpires. This league is the biggest it's ever been. When I played, when I was younger and played, there's probably only about a fifth of the kids playing that there are now. And so please give the umpires some grace. I know they're doing a great job. They're doing the best that they can. Same with the coaches, too. Be nice to the other coaches. They're doing it for free. And a lot of times they're donating their own time and money to help develop your children and other people's children to play better ball. So I would just say please give them grace during this crazy amount of people playing. We only have a limited amount of fields, but so far the league's going great, and I've really enjoyed my time with that, and so have my kids. I hate that it rained in this past time because we've been on a real big roll on the trees, so I'm going to do the best I can to continue to communicate when we have more trees available. Last time the trees were gone in like 30 minutes, so I'm sure that would have happened again if it wasn't raining. We had the League of Cities quarterly dinner. That was fantastic. Thank you to Commissioner Warwick and all the other city representatives that made that happen. We had the county manager come out and talk about a lot of things, including them potentially teaming up with us on the sewer plant. So that was some great news and some great information, and I'm realizing that I'm saying and a lot, and I apologize. With that, that's my report. Been a fantastic last 2 weeks, and I appreciate all the people that met up with me. I met up with a lot of people these past few weeks talking about a wide range of concerns and things that are going on in the city, so I really appreciate it. That's my report.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Parnell.
Thank you, Mayor. It was really nice to see y'all pay a little homage to Mr. Grady, who's served as a umpire for many, many years in Lynn Haven Recreation, and see him throw out the first ball was really neat. And I went off after that and watched a T-ball game. If you ever watch a T-ball game, half of the game is lining them up at the end to high five each other and run the bases, but they're learning the fundamentals and in a way where everybody's participating. So I watched one young man get on his hands and knees and take the chalk from the foul line and kind of make sure it was straight, real close, So there was I guess you can say there was humor, but it was very family oriented. It was really, really neat to see how not just the coaches were interacting, the moms and dads were there. Those young ones really need a little guidance. But through the sport of baseball, it brought them all together, and it was a great day. And man, it was overwhelming to see how many people participate. It really was. But I just wanted to go on with the rest of my report and just mention briefly that I emailed communications with the newsletter from the St. Andrews Bay, St. Joe Bay Estuary Program for this coming month, and they do Tide Talk at Destination Panama City, and it's going to be, I believe, on March 13th this month. But it's in the newsletter, and I would hope that it would be put into the minutes of the meeting, so it would be made public. Also, the estuary program in its existence has formed a 501(c)(3) foundation. By doing this, forming a foundation, the estuary program could raise money for grants in existence and to entrench itself more in the community awareness. I know y'all know there's a state license plate program. Well, this makes the estuary program eligible to apply for that. So locally, we can buy a license plate to support our bays and waterways through the estuary program now. I was appointed secretary treasurer of that foundation, and it's only had 2 meetings, but I'll report to the commission as far as that goes. And I'm also serving as the chair of the policy board for the St. Joe St. Andrews Bay Estuary Program. So with that being said, and a huge thank you to everyone who's here, whose voices are heard at every meeting. I think we just had a little free speech, a little more free speech than we needed, but you know, it's one of those things. I can't thank anyone enough who comes to these meetings and wants to participate in the business of the city and the government, and our law enforcement and our emergency fire and our military. You guys are on the front line of everything. I tell people, you know, I didn't ask to receive the nightly and daily reports, but man, my heart goes out to everybody in our city for what happens every day in our city that doesn't make a newspaper, but affects a family and affects people, and it affects the people that are the first on the scene the most, probably in a shock, in a retrospect. But my heart goes out to everybody there. So that's my report, and you know, there's a lot to be said with how you treat people you don't know, you know. So we can put our squabbles aside and take care of your neighbor. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, so, you know, by the time it gets this in, we usually talked about everything, but yeah, opening day of baseball was a great day. It was a lot of fun. I always enjoyed being part of that. As Commissioner Peebles talked about, we had a Bay County League of Cities meeting, dinner yesterday, and had our guest speaker was the county commissioner. He had a plethora of information, and one of the big things he talked about was the sewer plant with Lynn Haven, the possibility of us being able to connect to the one that's out off of 388. And I think if that comes to fruition, I think that's going to be a really good deal for Lynn Haven. So we'll see how that happens, because if you see our current sewer plant, it definitely is in dire need of being updated. So I think that would be a win-win for everyone, not just the county, but for Lynn Haven residents. I did have a question. I've been talking to a lot of residents, and one of the things they bring up to me is about stormwater. They're concerned about the assessment fee. And I know, Ms. Myers, you had talked about before, if a couple of people on the commission wanted to have like a city hall to talk about something, we would just need to publicize that. Is that right? So I don't know if Commissioner Peebles is open to this or not, but I know you're really interested in the different tier system in stormwater. I've been looking at some other options. I've been such as maybe putting it on the utility bill. I've been in contact with Hialeah, Florida, which they kind of got like a hybrid approach to stormwater that I've been looking at. But Commissioner Peebles, would you be open in having like a city hall where you can kind of talk about how your perspective is and my perspective, and we can open it up to the public and get input from them as far as what they would like to see?
Sure. I'd love the opportunity to have a central spot where citizens can give feedback to and talk about what you've come up with, because I think we all up here know that the process for stormwater is evolving. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So I guess just let me know a good date and time, and I don't know what the best way to publicize that. Do I get with the city manager? Okay. So I'll do that. We'll do that. And I think hopefully that'll be informative for the public. Last thing I had was, I know we talked about the city rebuild, having a workshop to talk about the status of that. Do we know when that's going to be?
No, sir, we do not. As soon as we pull up all information together, we are still dealing with FEMA and what they're giving for insurance or taking away from insurance before I put that information out there.
Okay, thank you. And appreciate, like Commissioner Perno always says, appreciate all first responders, staff, everything you do for our city. Thank you.
Commissioner Vandegrift.
I would be interested in the workshop too.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
You all actually asked me to make sure I put the workshop together in either March or April for this so that you could discuss it again. So that was my plans anyway.
Well, I think I'm still going to be around in March and April.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I've got a couple comments. I just think it's extremely inappropriate for someone to come up and bash someone that's running for office. I don't even know the person that was referred to. I do know that I received donations from the people that she mentioned, and not one time have they ever asked me or tried to influence my vote, because they know that I am an intelligent female and I can make up my own mind. Next, I would just like to say, I disagree with him all the time. He knows it. We even joke about it. But like I said, we're intelligent. We have our own opinions. And as I've stated many times, I make my decision based on what I think is best for the city, not what I think just personally, Judy Vandegrift. So with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor.
Thank you. City Manager, thank you all for continuing to host the Food Truck Festival. I know it was dreary weather that day, but it was still a good turnout. Definitely love the presentation at the end with the fire and all of that, and so that was pretty neat. But still had a variety of food trucks that were out there, and so I think that was really good as well. So thank you for not allowing the weather to cancel that appointment for us as a city, or that event for us, and still had some residents from other communities. I saw some from Callaway, some from Panama City. They came out to support that event as well, and to the staff that continue to make sure that was an excellent event and put on very well. Thankful to them as well.
Yes. So am I scheduling a workshop for everyone or just 2 commissioners in April?
I'm fine with everyone.
I think you should invite Stantec. If we're going to get commissioners' opinions, we should know what the whole city's doing presently. You know, I think it should be a city workshop. So, but that's just me, you know.
I guess my original idea was, I think me and Commissioner Peebles have difference of opinion on it, and kind of both present our ideas and kind of get input from the public of, because I know if someone had brought it up there in public commentary, they would prefer to have it monthly as opposed to yearly. Me, it doesn't matter to me. It's a wash either way. If I got to pay the same amount at the end of the year as opposed to broken down, but I think some people, they live month to month, and it's more important to them. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Would we be able to do, let's say, a public workshop on the 25th? We have commission meeting at 5:30. Maybe look at doing a public workshop
Like 4?
at 4.
Yeah.
And then, to your point, making sure that there is an opportunity for the community to have input. So we might limit, let's say, our discussion from maybe 4 to 4:45, 4 to 5, and then just make sure there's enough time. Because I know sometimes with our public workshops, we do all the talking,
Right.
publicly, but ensuring that there's a time allotted for the public to give input. And, you and Commissioner Peebles, you all can lead the discussion, as Commissioner Perna also said, along maybe with Stantec being here to give us some feedback on what both of those things may look like. But so that's an idea, and that'll get us. We'll have that in March So I'm thinking the 25th at 4 PM, and that just ties right into our commission meeting.
Are you open with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works for me.
Commissioner Perno? Commissioner
You
Vandegrift?
all right that day?
Awesome. Everyone's invited.
Great. Any questions about warrantless?
I don't have any.
Okay, thank you. We're working together to put together a soccer introduction series in March. No, we don't have soccer fields, but we really want kids to be involved in all different types of sports. So Justin's working to put together something there. Getting ready for summer basketball. Adult volleyball registration closes on March 18th. Our big Art in the Park is March 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. in Sheffield Park. And remember, that is a huge event. You have to get there early. One of our Arts in the Parks, we ran out of canvases. That's how huge it is. Easter egg hunt is April 12th at 9 a.m. Yes, there have been lots of talk about the aeration fountain that's been installed at Sheffield Park and our retention pond. It does two things. It really definitely does keep away the algae, and it's a beautiful sight to see people come by and just take photos of it. At night, you will see the different color lights that light up in it itself, and it is very, very beautiful. And so also there were some damage to Porter Park playground equipment, and that is going to be installed today and ready for the community to enjoy this weekend, hopefully. Ben and I met with owners of off Florida Avenue, and let me be very specific. These owners who we met with were property owners where when we do the revitalization of Florida Avenue, those owners will actually be affected by the revitalization of that particular area, and really great positive feedback. Ask us to tweak a couple of things. We've already sent that back to our designers and working on that, but they were very excited to see just the revitalization and redesign of some of that area. Our next phase is that we will have a public workshop to talk a little bit more about this project. It's been going on for several years. It is a grant. It's a $4.3 million grant that's going to help just, beautify Florida Avenue, make it a place where people want to hang out. As you know, we don't particularly have a downtown, but I envision that it is truly a diamond in the rough, and we can do so many things with the money we have received from that grant. And then lastly, we have put out a counter on 17th Street that was mentioned last week, that there's lots of speeding there. So we put that counter out just to see what the speeding looks like there. We know that there are a lot of cars that come through simply because, of course, Ken Griffin sits right in the middle of it. We have a huge baseball, softball league that's going on now, more than we've ever had. So that means that there are going to be more people out. There are going to be lots of cars out. And so we are encouraging folks. We just put together a really nice parking lot off of Iowa and 16th. And we noticed that people were still parking on the sides of the road, which really inhibits the driving, people seeing left or right coming off of sometimes Illinois. So we're encouraging folks to please fill up the parking lot on Iowa and 16th. I know it may be just a little bit of a walk, but it's surely for safety reasons as well. And so Commission will be bringing back that data as well, maybe in the next couple of weeks, to let you look at that. And that is my report.
All right, City Attorney.
No report.
All right. Approval of our regular meeting minutes from 2/25/25. Any corrections for this? Is there a motion for this?
Move to approve.
Right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Peebles. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Peebles? Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Old business discussion and possible approval to appoint Mr. Doolittle to the Planning Commission Board. I know last meeting, I believe it was Commissioner Ward that tabled this to this time here. And so, do you have any comments for today?
Yeah, so hopefully everyone had an opportunity to talk to both candidates. As I stated before, I think they're both outstanding individuals, and, you know, for someone to want to volunteer and be actively involved in the city says a lot about their character. But I talk with some of the other cities and kind of see how they do it. And normally what other cities do is they advertise it. And I don't believe this one was advertised, was it?
No.
Do we have any policy that talks about this at all?
Yes, we can advertise that when there are openings and there are not people in the waiting. And that has been the traditional policy of it, is that if there's a list of folks that are in a waiting, then those are the folks that we go to first. And then as people put in their applications, we keep their application, and we always talk to them and ask them, would you consider working on other boards? And so, yes, the answer to your question is when there are openings and there are no applications in the waiting, we do advertise.
Okay.
All right. Are there any questions for Amanda?
So can I get a copy of that policy?
Sure.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it yet.
No, I don't know if there's a policy. I've never seen a policy. It's just, it was practice when former city managers were here. If we needed to, we would have to advertise. Back then, it was hard to get people actually
Right.
thinking about it, to sit on boards. And so when we had a vacancy, if someone left a board, we usually had to advertise it, and we would put it on the sign thing that we had out there on the road. I don't know if you recall. We would advertise vacancies out there. We'd put it in the News Herald. But then what started happening was we would have vacancies on the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustments. People didn't want to sit on the Board of Adjustments. We would get people applying for the Planning Commission, but we'd have too many apply for the Planning Commission. And so we would kind of like interview them a bit. And then the city manager said, well, you just kind of pick out the ones that you think and then bring them to us, and then we'll make the final decision. So we would do that for the planning board. But then what we started to do, because we couldn't find people for the Board of Adjustments, he told us to go ahead and ask the people who applied for the planning board if they wanted to sit on the Board of Adjustments. And so if they said yes, then the understanding was if they had applied for the planning board but were willing to sit on the Board of Adjustments, when positions came available on the planning board, if they still wanted it, we would put their name in. If we had nobody wanting to sit on the planning board, we would advertise it. So, for instance, now, one of these people, if one of these two people is selected to sit on the Planning Commission, we'll have a vacancy on the Board of Adjustments, which we would have to advertise for normally. However, we do have a lady we didn't advertise the Planning Commission vacancy, but somehow, I guess someone told her that there was going to be there was going to be a vacancy on the Planning Commission, and so she submitted an application after the packet had already been sent to the city manager's office. So I explained to her the procedure and asked her if she wanted to sit on the Board of Adjustments because we have a vacancy. So, like, if you all want to set a policy, you can all set one, but we don't have a written policy. That was just the standard practice. And so what I was going to do is have the ladies sit on the Board of Adjustments. But if you don't want us to do that, if you want us to advertise, then we can advertise. But she thought she was going to sit on the Board of Adjustments, and then she'd be eligible for Planning Commission eventually.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Amanda, there is a policy in place for
There is?
for
Oh, I
boards.
did not know
Yeah,
that. I was just told
yes.
that by the city manager. So-
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
so sorry for wasting your time.
No, no worries. I mean, that's why we talk about these things, right? Yeah, I'd like to look at that and probably discuss it on the commission to see if this is the policy we want to abide by or if we want to make any changes to it. But does it say that we have to select this person or is it still up to us?
I know you guys have to approve every advisory board member that we come, I know it says that you have to approve it.
Okay. Because,
Because I think we bring everything,
Yeah, that's in the code.
Yeah.
That you have to appoint the person, which is
Yes.
why we bring them to you.
yeah.
But the actual how we get that person, I've never seen a policy on that. I was just told by the city manager what to do.
okay. So, like I said, I hope all the other commissioners and the mayor are able to have an opportunity to sit down with both the candidates, speaking with both of them. I just thought Mr., what's the other one, Clubs?
Yes,
Name
sir.
is?
Chris Clubs.
I think with his experience, he's actually a developer. He's not a big developer. He's a small developer. He's worked in other cities and kind of see how things works. He's in the real estate also, and I think with that knowledge that he has, I think would be very beneficial to the planning board. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve Mr. Clubs to the planning board.
All right. There's a motion on the floor to approve Mr. Clubs to the Planning Commission. Is there a second for that? All right.
I'm going to second it for discussion because I want to talk about it more. So is that cool if we talk about it now? All right, cool. So I really like both applicants. I think both of them are excellent. I've talked to both of them, and I want to ensure that both of them get there as soon as possible. And I think that had we had a policy in place to already that was more clear, or at least we had done more research on the policy before the applicants had put their application in, then I would have said, okay, maybe we have a more like straight up one-on-one voting, because like you stated, Mr. Clubs is very qualified for the position. But I think the fact that kind of the people that had already put their name in the hat had been given the assumption that it'd be in waiting, I feel like the best way forward would be assign Mr. Doolittle and then officially make Mr. Clubs the second one in waiting. And then in the next meeting, we put an agenda item to iron out exactly the policies and procedures that we wanted to do going forward, kind of like grandfather in the old thing we're doing, do it that way. And then next meeting, we'll ensure that both Mr. Doolittle and Mr. Clubs are going to have a spot on the Planning Commission. And then moving forward, we'll have their grandfathered in, and then we'll have a new policy ironed out next meeting, and then we all know we're on the same page going forward how we want to handle this. Because it is very rare that we've had more than one applicant, but this will kind of just put it on paper that we've all, 5 of us up here have looked at and agreed on that that's the route we want to take going forward.
Yeah, I think either one's going to do great. I just felt Mr. Clubs was a little more qualified.
I did not meet with Mr. Clubs. I've talked with him in previous other settings, so I am familiar with his background, as you've clarified. I did get a chance to meet with Mr. Doolittle. Was certainly very impressed about his understanding of policy and code, and thought he would be a great fit for the Planning Commission, having already served on the Board of Adjustments, though they don't meet as frequently as the Planning Commission, but from some of the things that he described in which they've had to make decisions on, he's very engaged in that process, and seemingly I think he would fit well into that position. So I, do like what Commissioner Peebles is stating, and that is something that we can work on, begin to iron out in our next commission meeting in regards to what that policy looks like for selection to the Planning Commission. There is any other discussion on this particular motion from?
Would you be willing to modify your motion to what I said?
We have to vote now on Mr. Clubs on his motion.
Right. So the motion now is to vote on Mr. Clubs. If we move forward that motion, then we vote it up or down.
Then I would like to continue discussion, if I may. That at the last meeting, exactly what Mr. Peebles stated, I had stated from talking to Mr. Clubbs, briefly talking to Mr. Doolittle, because Mr. Clubbs said if anybody else had to be on the planning board, I would choose Mr. Doolittle. I think they both respect each other. And when I was talking to Mr. Clubbs, I said I would make the recommendation, which I did at the last meeting, that he be the person in waiting, the first person up for the next opening. By tradition, policy, however it is, Mr. Doolittle is up for that now. So I would support exactly what Sam said, because it falls in line with exactly, I think, what the gentleman agreement is between the two fellows who are on the Board of Adjustment and who's up for the planning board now. So, and I also want to say that I talked to Miss Miranda Barnes, who was out of the public. She wasn't on a board, but wanted to serve on the planning board. And she graciously accepted a spot on the Board of Adjustments. And I believe she had a full understanding of the process once it was brought to her. And I think she would also be an excellent person for the planning board, and she's eager to want to get on the planning board. I think that puts us in a great light for keeping our planning board filled. I wish all of our other boards would be filled as easily, but the planning board is a very active, very integral part of the moving of the building and development of our city. So I thank everyone who wants to be on it. And but my personal feelings is I would support Mr. Doolittle this time. So.
You have any?
And I'd want Mr. Clubbs to be the guy on deck, being the baseball top.
Commissioner Vandegrift. All right. Commissioner Ward, do you want to move forward with this motion?
Yeah, let's move forward with the motion. Obviously, I know what's going to happen, and then Commissioner Peebles will probably make his motion, then we'll vote on that, if that's okay.
All right. Any comments from the public? All right. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles,
No.
Commissioner Parno,
No.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
No.
Mayor Nelson.
No. Motion failed. Is there another motion for agenda item number 9?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Doolittle to the Planning Commission, with Mr. Clubbs getting the next spot when available. And I would also like to add that there will be an agenda item on the next commission meeting to iron out or establish a new policy for applications to the planning board.
Is there a second for this?
Second the motion.
All right. Is there additional discussion? All right. Any discussion from the public? All right. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Moving on to agenda item number 10, first reading of ordinance 1178, milestones inspection. City Manager, if you would read that by title only, please.
You want me to read it first? Okay, got it. An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven amending the City Code of Ordinances related to building and building regulations, establishing certain requirements for milestones, inspections, providing for enforcements, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
All right. Thank you. City Attorney.
In response to the Surfside condominium collapse, the Florida legislature passed a Florida statute requiring milestone inspections for condominiums and residential co-ops that were 3 stories or more. A milestone inspection happens on your 25th anniversary of your certificate of occupancy. That statute authorizes cities and counties as the local enforcement agencies to pass their own ordinances to establish certain timelines and penalties to enforce this statute. So what you have before you is a recommendation from city staff that adopts all of the requirements of the statute, but also imposes additional timelines and penalties for compliance.
Are there any additional questions for the city attorney? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item number 11. This is for discussion regarding the Traffic Safety Committee's finding on the traffic study for Dundee and 24th Street in Mowat Highlands. City Manager.
Yes, Mayor, back in '24, you asked us to come back in '25 to do another study for Dundee and 24th Street. And of course, we did have some phone calls from residents on 24th Street and emails, and some of them are here today. So we did go back and rediscover Dundee and 24th Street. And after reviewing the data, of course, the Traffic Calming Safety Committee met, and that consists of the city manager, chief of police, chief infrastructure director, public works, and we looked at the data, as you can see here, and there's surely still some speeding that is occurring on both of those streets. And, there are three options, as we said in this report. We can leave the road and do nothing. We can install radar signs with a cost of $21,000, or we can install speed bumps that are less aggressive at $5,000.
All right. Thank you for submitting this report to us so that we can review it and provide some feedback. Any questions on how to interpret this?
What were the three options again?
They were do nothing or install a radar. Those radar signs are $21,000, and then install speed humps with the cost of $5,000 that are less aggressive.
Are those radar signs the same that are on the 26th Street when you're driving? When you hit the four-way stop at Kaleidoscope and then go up 26. Those are pretty good at keeping people slow down, because they flash when you're over the speed. They flash red and they actually show your speed. And I see them as a deterrent and a way to slow people down in a manner in which they're visibly seeing their speed as they approach the sign. And when it flashes red, you're and then I consciously, do slow down or try to hit the speed when I'm coming up on the sign. It's a fun little game I play in my head. But anyway, it does bring the speed down. I know it's expensive. Is it necessary to install 4? Because there's only 2 on 26th Street, and it's a way longer road than 24th.
It'll be for 24th. I think this is based on 24th Street and Dundee.
So it'll be on Dundee as well.
Based on the data, I guess, city manager, could you or someone from the committee sort of review the data for us so we'll know what the highlights are that we should be looking at?
Yes, so 85% of speed was at 32 miles an hour. 95% of the speed on Dundee was at 35 miles per hour. You had your highest speed at, I think it was 56 miles per hour that we had here on Dundee. You had a total of the vehicles that went through was 8,900. And surely, as you can see, that everyone is just about traveling over the speed limit on Dundee. On 24th Street, you had a total vehicles of 6,300, and the maximum speed was 64 miles per hour. And 85% of the people were going about 29 miles per hour. 95% were definitely over the speed limit at 34 miles per hour.
Okay. I do know one of the questions that came previously in regards to measuring this from residents of Mord Highland, specifically on the Dundee side, was the wheel axles. Like, for example, if someone's pulling a trailer, and you have, of course, your truck with, your two axles, and then the trailer is coming behind it, and it's shorter. So then I guess the question that they've asked has been with that, how would that be sort of interpreted in regards to the speed data? Because you have those axles that are so close together. Would it seem like someone was speeding over at that point with that, or would that not be consequential to actually how the data was reported?
I don't have an answer to that. Bobby, do you? Yeah.
Yes, the way that software works, it identifies 3 axles. It'll identify a semi. It's the spacing of the tires is what it is. So, yeah, it won't pick a trailer up as an extra vehicle.
Got it.
And if we installed speed bumps, they wouldn't be like the last ones, right?
Correct. What we're proposing are speed humps. They're not as aggressive as the speed bumps that were put there.
So the humps, those are the ones that are concrete?
No, they're going to be the portable like they were, but they're going to be less aggressive. They're wider and they're not that sharp hit like it is. The others were.
All right.
Portable isn't, they're screwed down. No one can take them out.
Yes, they'll anchor down.
They'll anchor down.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we've heard from Commissioner Perno. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I got, if there's data involved, I'm going to be excited to look at it. So I love data. So thanks for putting this together. Data, when we look at data and statistics, it's really important to realize that statistics I like to look at it as like a tool in a toolbox and to make a decision, but that tool can be like a knife or a machete where if you use it properly, it can be super effective, but if you use it improperly, it can be devastating. Much like if you use the wrong speed bumps, it could cause damage to vehicles or what have you. And there are a few trends that I've really noticed in this data. One that there obviously is speeding in all of the situation, in all the spots, but East 24th was way worse than Moat Highlands in terms of, if you look there at the bottom, it has you really start seeing a drop off in speeding once you hit about 37 miles per hour, right? So like Dundee has speeding, obviously, and that needs to be helped, but only about 2.8% of the people are going over 37 miles per hour. When you look at East 24th Street, 28% of people are going over 37 miles per hour. So to me, that shows how bad, like if Dundee's bad, then 24th is really bad. Okay, so just to keep that in mind. But the reason I'm kind of zoning in on the 37%, one, because the people that gathered the data did a really good job of pointing that out, but also that you'll see that the average speed on most of these places is around 27, 28 miles per hour. And so I was doing some research on ESPN, baby. I was noticing I did some research with the U.S. Department of Transportation and what they recommend doing, and it kind of lays out like humps versus bumps. Speed bumps are really used for if you're trying to get people to go in between like 2 to 10 miles per hour, and we've kind of already established that we don't want to do that. One thing that gives me a little pause on humps is it's recommended if you're wanting to slow down the speed to around 15 miles per hour. What I found that would be more expensive that we may want to explore in the future is using what's called speeding tables. And tables are only raised about 3 inches off the ground. They're much wider than a bump. And the goal speed for that is about 20 to 30 miles per hour. And I think that's really the speed that we're trying to get people to go to, because that's around the speed limit, right? It's around 25 miles per hour is where these roads are. So if we could get people to encourage to go 25 miles per hour, using speed tables in the future, I think that might be the route we want to go. That wasn't one of the options that was given to us, and I'm sure that everyone involved has looked at all that kind of stuff. But I just kind of wanted to point that out in case any of you all hadn't looked at that. I think speed tables, if affordable, may be the way to go, especially since the U.S. Department of Transportation really recommends using those.
And the ones we did look at were a little bit wider and more of a hump that they could go over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess one last thing is from a risk management standpoint, when you're looking at the radars, they will slow people down. However, a strict deterrent that's 100% a deterrent with no actual teeth, like a speed bump that actually slows you down, typically deterrents just keep the honest man honest. Someone that's going to speed is going to speed. You know, so if you really want to actually slow people down, the real bad people that speed all the time, something that will actually slow them down would have more of an effect. A deterrent will have some of effect, but it won't have as much of an effect. It's the same thing, like, for example, if you pull up to a Navy base and there's a sign that says this is a U.S. government facility, don't go on here. Well, if I made a mistake and accidentally turned down that road, I'd say, oh, thanks, I appreciate it, and turn around and go the other way. If you got like a terrorist or something that's trying to attack that base, that sign ain't gonna stop them, you know? So I'm not trying to say people that speed are terrorists. I'm just using an extreme example so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm saying. But that's my thoughts on the whole thing.
I like what you're saying. I just wanted to go back on. I wanted to get a full understanding of the signs and the impacts and the speed bumps. But I just want to continue. I wanted to say that I support that at the cost of the humps, and I think my feeling is to install the humps and to solicit the opinions of the people involved again in the near future to see if that's having any effect. We're looking at a $5,000 expenditure or a $21,000 expenditure, and physically, I think the humps will have the effect to slow down speed as well as the signs, and it's less of an expenditure, and just to study the impact after that. So.
Yeah, I kind of like that because, I was talking about the tables, but the tables are more of like a permanent fixture, and we don't want to make like a drastic measure that costs a bunch of money without knowing for certain. And $5,000 in the big scheme of things isn't a huge amount of money to do what Commissioner Perno's saying, which is put them out there, get the opinion of people involved. If we have to do another study, cool. But that can kind of take a step in that direction to see if that's what we want to do. Like you said, they're not permanent, right? So we can kind of see and maybe gauge it from there. I think that would give us more information than the radars.
Commissioner Ward.
Don't quote me on this, but I think there's different types of speed humps. I think there are some that are designed for that speed range that you're talking about, but again, don't quote me. It's been a while since I looked at this. The one complaint that I get, and I think this is probably part of the factor, not all of it, is you got delivery vehicles like UPS and FedEx, and then nowadays you got DoorDash and those people going through trying to get there as quick as possible. I think that's probably part of the problem. But the other thing is, we have a policy and procedure in place. It's not really getting followed too well, in my opinion. So to me, I guess my question is, do we want to follow this policy procedure or do we need to change it? Because if you read the way it is now, they go by the 85%, I forget what that terminology, median or whatever that stat is. And I know FDOT, and it's used a lot for like streets as far as determining what the speed limit should be and things like that. So do we need to change that? Because the way it's written right now, it's considered minor and it requires no remedial action except more police force and enforcement and things like that. I think that's the discussion we need to have. Because if we're not happy with the policy procedures, then we either need to do away with it or we need to redo it.
All right, and what page is that on that you're referring to?
It's page 5. So under traffic safety analysis classification, you got class 1, which is minor excessive speed and volume. And it says measured 85th percentile speed less than 10 miles per hour above the posted speed limit. So if you look at above the 85th percentile on both of those, I believe it's below 10 miles an hour. And then remedial action says Public Works may request the police department to increase enforcement on a random basis during the hours when the majority of speeding violations seem to occur. Volume peak hour volume equal or less than 12% of the average daily traffic or equal or less than 10 daily trips per household assessed. And then remedial action, none. And then you have class 2, excessive speed and or volume speed measured 85th percentile speed of 10 miles per hour or greater in excess of the posted speed. Peak hour volume greater than 12% of the average daily traffic or more than 10 daily trips per household excess. Remedial actions, residents may petition for speed humps, and then there's a section on how to do the petition.
Got it. I guess one of my questions would be, as I'm looking at the data, because I do see what you're saying about the 85%, would be what, but then I see there's 95%, and then that's higher than the 85. So then I guess is there any feedback on the difference between the 85 and 95?
One of the things to keep in mind, and Chris has talked about this even in the last study, the software is set at 37 miles an hour. The speed limit's 25. Chris can't back that down to 25 miles an hour to give you the accurate percentage that you're looking for.
So it's probably higher.
Yes, sir. So when you look at it at the very bottom of the page where it says speed limit fields, you see that they're using 37 miles an hour there. So that's going to skew what you're looking at as far as what you're referring to, Mr. Warwick.
Okay.
So I think look at the true data of what these speeds are. And obviously that will raise that percentage, because I even asked Chris, I said, can we not push that machine or force it to go to 25 miles an hour? And he said the lowest that it will go is 37 miles per hour by default.
So the one on 24th Street is accurate then, because that's at 30 miles an hour.
Well, it's still obviously, I would like to set it at 30 to get a truly accurate reading, but we cannot lower it that low to get it. It still ran at 37 miles an hour to give you these percentages.
So you believe it's above 10 miles an hour?
Yes, sir.
On both of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then, if we go by our policy and procedures, and the next step would be petition, but the traffic calming committee needs to determine what that base area map is, and I kind of like that idea, and the reason I do it, it gets the local people involved with it. And then if there's let's say there's a substantial amount of people don't want it, that way you don't install them and then have to remove them later. And I think what you're going to find out is most everyone's going to want it. And I'm not against speed humps. I'm just looking from a policy and procedure perspective. It's, what's the sense of having it if we're not going to follow it? And if we don't agree with it, then we have the power to change it.
So do we wait for a petition from the citizens? Is that what you're saying?
If you read the policy and procedure, that's what it says.
Is that something, is there an HOA or something involved there? Or do we have to hang stuff on everybody's doors or what?
No, whoever the 5 signatures we got, they're the ones that go out and get the petition.
Okay, so there's a committee that goes around and solicits the petition.
Here's what it says. A petition form for obtaining neighborhood consensus for the recommended control measure will be issued by the Public Works Department to the person initiating the request. The contact person will receive a map highlighting the area subject to petitioning. The area map will depict the residential property that is adjacent to or directly affected by any changes to the road in question. And then it's got timelines and what % they need and things like that.
One of the
mean-
things, excuse me.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
One of the things it also says is that the common infrastructure can be initiated by the neighborhood request, regulatory agency, which is the police, or staff field review. So any three of these can initiate a request. And if we see that there's danger, we're going to bring it to the commission. And the commission can decide whether they want us to move forward.
And I will openly make that request that we put in speed humps, the less aggressive ones that are removable. So there's my formal request from the data that you have.
That's to,
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I know that the people in the back from 24th Street are listening. And I know what Commissioner Warwick is asking. I just want to I don't know what's going to come of this, but I want to hear how you feel after Commissioner Warwick speaks. I want to hear how y'all feel about getting any kind of petition or survey together to make this happen. So.
We have no problem doing a petition, survey, what have you, but we do want to push one issue that even on line 11 here, it says traffic study for Dundee and 24th Street speeding issues in Mount Highlands. I do want to separate, and I don't know how we need to do it. 24th Street is not part of Mowat Highlands. Mowat Highlands has nothing to do with 24th Street. We are our own street.
And I think that comes up because the residents, like if you got 6,000 vehicles, then the traffic committee ties it into Mowat Highlands because that's the majority of your traffic. I think that's why it comes up that way.
I understand that, but I have to take a lot of other roads on a daily basis. Do I have say over what the people, the residents on them roads? We have about 20 houses on 24th Street. So if there's any way that we can separate, I mean, I would be happy to close the back entrance to Mowat Highlands. Mowat Highlands has 3 other entrances they can use. I'd be happy to put a fence up and nobody from Mowat Highlands uses that road. I know that's not going to happen, but we are not Mowat Highlands. So whatever petition we need to do, whatever, we'll do it. But our petition needs to be our road, our residents, our neighbors.
And that's what the petition would be, sir. It would be for 24th Street. So that's why the studies were done separately.
I know it keeps tying both us with Mowat Highlands, so I just want to make sure that we're not part of that.
Right. I think part of it was that the complaints basically came in at the same time.
Okay.
So that the 24th Street complaint came in around the same time we got complaints from Mowat Highlands. But yes, the petitions will be separate, and then the decision will be separate based on what you have on 24th Street versus what you have on Dundee.
So the only thing we need to know from y'all is what y'all need us to do, because we'll do it. Whatever y'all need us to petition, fill out, go door to door, we have no problem doing it. We just need to know what we need to do.
Well, we have your contact information on the sign-in sheet. So if we just get and I think we already have your information from emails and such. Yes. So yes, so we have your contact info, your number, also have your email. Perfect. So someone from city staff will follow up with you on the next steps in regards to the petition.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hi, I'm from Mowat Highlands. And I also wanted to echo that where I want to separate the two. I'm against the pumps and the humps because I have severe back issues. That's the reason we bought into that neighborhood, because it didn't have any humps or bumps. I'm all for the cops coming and just giving tickets to the people who are speeding, because I do feel like the ones that are speeding, they're either, if they are people that live in our neighborhood, you give them a ticket once, they won't do it again. But if it's somebody like a driver, again, same thing. You start hearing, hey, that driver got a ticket, they're not going to do it again. And so I feel like your data showed that we have less speeding on our line than they do, so we should have it separated between two different things.
Yes, it'll be separated and addressed as different issues.
Okay, so one, why can't we just go to having cops come directly before we go to petitioning for bumps?
We've done that before on several occasions. And
how many tickets resulted from the cops being there?
I'm not sure of how many tickets resulted. What happens is the police do come out, the speeding slows for a moment. Citizens continue to call in saying that there's a speeding issue. So then we've done that several times.
I'd be interested to know like the data on that, like how many times they've come out in the sense we've done the study or when we did the study. Because, I mean, I feel like the neighborhood slowed down when you put the humps in because everybody freaked out. And also I've seen the workers that come in on a regular basis, I've seen them slow down. The ones that come in not on a regular basis, they're still going fast. So I feel like if we did just have cops come, it would help that issue even more. So I just don't know when the last time I've seen a cop in the neighborhood.
I know some came out around Thanksgiving, Christmas time.
That was last year, before we had all this stuff happen.
Before we had the speed study, yes, because once we took the speed humps out and then we said we'll conduct another speed study, we did have officers to come out and did, I believe, give out some tickets at that time. They were out in Maud Highlands as well as on 24th Street. And then we're bringing the study back because that's what we said we would do, which was the initial plan, was to remove the speed humps to see what the sort of what the speeding was doing or what was the new traffic pattern for the neighborhood. So this is our follow-up to what the traffic pattern is for the neighborhood.
Okay.
Chief Ramey can probably give you some information too.
We have worked that area and we have written citations, but the proof's in the pudding. You did this study before we put the humps out. You've now done a study after the humps have left. You still have speeding.
Thank you. Good morning.
Live on Dundee. What's the comparison of this study to last study? Has it been done? What's the percentage of speeding now compared to speeding last time? I think I heard that only 2.8% was over 37. What was the last time? Has a comparison been done?
When we look at the actual 85 to 95%, those numbers are similar to what's happened to what was going on last time.
Observations from living on Dundee. When the speed humps or bumps or whatever you put in, people slow down right then and they speed up to the next one. So what you're trying to do is change people's behavior. If somebody's going to speed, they're pretty much going to speed. So my observation from living on Dundee is most of the people that live in our neighborhood are very observant of the children and dogs. My dog got loose yesterday, and I was chasing him, and my neighbor stopped to help me get him. And he ran out in front of a car, and the car slowed down and stopped and helped me because our neighborhood loves each other and is very helpful. What I observe are those things that you talk about, the ones that are deliveries and maybe nighttime and those kinds of things. We really do want to change behaviors, but the speed bumps and humps aren't always necessarily changing that behavior. So I agree with you that we want our neighborhood safe, we want our children safe, and I'm not sure that the intention of those speed bumps and humps are really going to do what you want it to do. I would like you to poll the neighbors because we already had one survey done and the neighborhood really doesn't want them. I would like you to follow the policy, if you will. Last time it wasn't followed, I don't think. And it's very important to the neighborhood that you get in contact with them because I think the big problem they had last time is all of a sudden bumps were there and they feel like they were not communicated with before something was done. And that's very important to them, is that they get to be participative, if you will, in what happens in their neighborhood, because that community actually likes each other, which is a really good thing today. And I ask you to take that in mind, because for the most part, the neighborhood is a very good community, and I'd like it to stay that way. Thank you so much for hearing me.
Can I just say something, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
She brings up a good point. When I looked at speed humps, and when you look at our policy, it says speed humps should be spaced approximately 300 to 500 feet apart, and there's a reason for that. Because I saw the design, where they wanted to put the placement of it. The first one's not until, I figure it's about 1,100 feet. So the spacing is important, because if they're spaced too far, then they start becoming inefficient, and the person just goes up, then they speed up the next one, where if they're spaced close enough, they don't have that opportunity. So I think it might be a little bit more expensive, but if we do go with the speed humps, I think that part is important, to make sure they're not too far spaced apart from each other. A good example of that, and this is not the ones you screw into the road, but behind Bay County Sheriff's Office, there's a development back there, and it's all asphalt, but it's very effective because they're spaced, they're not too far apart from each other.
Got it. So you're saying that if we move forward with what's on Dundee, then to basically have additional speed humps so that we could make sure that that's there. All right. One question. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Commissioner, my name's Austin Andrews. I live in Mowat Highlands, and I 100% agree that there's a speeding problem. However, I've been observing for the past 3 months. I'm retired. I'm in and out of the neighborhood 3-4 times a day. The majority of vehicles I see speeding belong to FedEx, UPS, or Amazon deliveries and things of the nature, not residents. Now, I'm not going to be naive and say there aren't residents that speed through the neighborhood, because there are. However, I want to make sure if you're going to be putting speed calming devices in, they comply with FDOT regulations. From what I'm understanding, the speed humps that are being described do not meet FDOT guidelines. By FDOT guidelines, speed bumps shall not be used on public streets. Speed bumps are severe treatments 3 to 6 inches high and 1 to 2 feet wide that slow drivers to speeds of less than 10 miles per hour. They do describe what a speed hump is, and it's 15 to 20 feet long, if I remember correctly. In fact, I can go back and look real quick. They are 3 to 4 inches high, 12 to 14 feet long. So I just want to make sure we don't get another version of a speed bump in there that doesn't meet statutory requirements, that damages vehicles, and that still doesn't do the job. My opinion is that enforcement is going to be required. I am aware of an area in Callaway had a very similar problem. They stepped up enforcement for a good period of time, and there are very, very few speeders on that road anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. So with this discussion, I know Commissioner Work asked a question. I don't hear from the commission that there are any objections with us following through on the policy we have laid before us. And so if we would, city manager of staff would follow up with 24th Street as well as those from Dundee. But of course, those are two separate petitions. In regards to getting petitions, I guess identifying probably more so the 90% area for Mowat Highlands, what area do they need to petition for that? I think 24th Street, as he mentioned, there's 20 houses, so he can, you all can just contact those 20 residents that are there. But the map of what residents need to be contacted in Mowat Highlands by that person for our policy. And then if we could, once those petitions come back, then we'll be able to bring it back to the commission and follow up discussion from there on moving forward. So, for example, if 24th Street gets their petitions back in before next meeting, then we'll discuss 24th Street. If Dundee or Mort Highlands doesn't get theirs back in until April, then we'll have to discuss that in April. So that way, we'll be looking at them as two different issues and petitions.
The part I'm not sure on reading this is I understand what the police chief's saying, where there are 3 options to request speed humps. One's neighborhood request, the other one's regulatory agency request, police and staff field review. Depending on which one of those is, if it's not neighborhood request, does it require a petition? And reading this, I don't know the answer to that.
I think it was, because I did talk about this with the city manager the first time we discussed this issue, and I think the way it was written was that as you're saying, the neighborhood could petition for it, and if the neighborhood petitions for it, then they need to have so many, signatures and such, or so much feedback. But if the city thought that it was a safety issue, then the city could basically override,
But it won't require a petition if it comes from that.
Right. So then the city could say, hey, here's our data. We see that it's a safety issue. Then the city could decide to do that, because as Commissioner Peebles mentioned, an extreme example, you might have an example of a neighborhood that's 25, but everybody's going 50. But then if you only go by, well, the neighborhood didn't petition for this, then the city couldn't install anything because it was, even though it's a danger. I'm not saying that that's the speed in the Mort Highlands or 24th Street area, but that's how I interpret that per discussion with city managers. Her and I discussed, like, it gives different options on, as you're stating, how it can be installed. So
Correct.
the city can request it if they see that it's a problem. Seemingly, I think since we've been on the board, most of the speeding that has been brought to us has been citizen identified.
Right.
So, do you have any final thoughts on